love it. All right, Brian, now let's talk about the 50s. This is a unique decade, right? This is the one, as you cross the threshold into the 50s, you're starting to make the decision, I need to make sure that I'm dotting all my I's, crossing all my T's. I need to make sure that there are not things I've not thought about, because this is kind of your last checkpoint before you enter into retirement, before you enter into financial independence.
Yeah, we went with the typical optimist view, is that we're going to look at this as you are a glass half full, and the fact that you did what you were supposed to, and this is really where you're now starting to put those ducks in order and know where you're going to land the airplane. This is the part where you've on this journey of we save, we build, we are, people that understand all the things as financial mutants we're supposed to do, but now it's that transition moment. It is so hard to move the needle from builder to now consumer. We want to give you the resources to know how to do that the best way possible.
So the first thing you need to focus on is, do you know your number? Do you actually know what your number is that you're working towards? If you don't, we have a great tool that you can use. You can go to learn.moneyguy.com. You can take our Know Your Number course, where you can essentially put in, here's how old I am, here's how much I have saved, here's how much I'm saving, these are my rate of return assumptions, these are my inflation assumptions, and it will return to you a number. Hey, you are on pace to hit this number if you want this level of lifestyle by this age. And then you can even troubleshoot to say, okay, well, what if I saved an extra $100 a month, an extra $1,000 a month? How does that change my number? How does that change my timeline? In your 50s, you ought to be zoning in and zeroing in on the answers to these questions.
Well, this one, I love the Know Your Number, because it paints with broad strokes, and the fact that it's going to tell you how your behavior lines up, but it's more of a, how do you create a general plan for knowing if you're behind the curve, ahead of the curve, or right on the curve. But if you're actually getting to the point where you're thinking about, I'm going to truly walk away from my good paying job, I don't want to make a mistake, I think we have to talk about number 2, which is make sure your retirement risk are covered.
Absolutely.
And that's one of those things where, yes, a dashboard tool or something like the Know Your Number course is valuable, but if you really are within that 5-year halo period, I would encourage you, this might be the period where you need to take the relationship to the next level, or even use some tools like, we always stress test all of our clients who are considering retirement to say, what's the likelihood of success if taking in all my scenarios, taking in when I want to go pay off my mortgage, when I want to take the kids' education into account, I want to take into kids' weddings, all the life events that make it unique for us, our fingerprints and our snowflakes that are all individual. Your retirement is just as individual, and you want to take all that into account and be very personalized with it.
Yeah, what it allows you to do is see if your expectations are aligned with reality. It also informs what expectations might need to change. You may have a probability of success in the 90s for your current retirement, but all of a sudden, when you buy that vacation home and you decide to pay for that wedding, and then you want to have that travel budget, now that probability of success of not having to decrease your living expenses goes from 90% down to 60%. You need to know that, so as you make decisions in retirement, you understand how that's going to have a long-term impact. Well, a lot of folks don't know how to do this on their own. A lot of folks have trouble saying, well, I've heard of Monte Carlo, and I think it's a fun place to visit, but I don't know what in the world that means when it comes to my retirement. This might be, and you already alluded to this, Brian, this might be the time where it makes sense to have a co-pilot, where it makes sense to have someone who's navigated hundreds of retirements stand beside you as you walk through that threshold.
Well, I think about the complexities of, you had Social Security, or maybe you had a pension from a previous job, and you're trying to figure out, how does that all integrate in with the assets, my army of dollars that I built up? And then you recognize, hey, I've never done this before. I'm on my first maiden journey into retirement, and I'd sure like to know I'm doing this the right way. Fortunately, this is where taking the relationship to the next level does pay dividends, in the fact that we've done hundreds, if not soon to be thousands, of retirements, so we can hopefully protect you from your blind spots, to also know how you switch the flip the switch to know from, how do I go from being builder and saver to it's okay, and give myself permission to be a consumer of what I've spent so many of the past decades building. That's not the easiest thing to do, and I think that's where the coaching, we give away so much free advice. I want you to be the best version of yourself, and you can do it all for free, do it. But even people who have the desire and the aptitude to keep life simple, there's something about success that creates complexity. And if you just don't know what you don't know, you're going to really appreciate how a person who can protect you from your blind spots or use all of your custom variables will hopefully put you on the right peace of mind to live your best, not only financial life, but also just so you sleep good at night. You know you're maximizing all the opportunities. There's a lot of emotional benefits you get from that as well.
If that sounds like you and you might want to know what it looks like to have that co-pilot, to take the relationship to the next level, I encourage you, go to moneyguy.com. You can click on Become a Client. You can watch a little video of us talking about what that looks like. And it'll actually walk you through the process. How do I do this? How do I navigate this? How do I know if this makes the most sense for me? We'd love to be a part of your journey. We'd love to go on that with you. All right, Brian, let's talk about now folks in their 50s, where they stay. Because again, if we're looking at the data from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the median household income for folks in their 50s is right about $87,500 for the median household. So if you're in your 50s, take your age, multiply it by your income, and divide by 10. That will just give you a number as if you were an average accumulator of wealth. But in your 50s, that's a little bit less valuable. What you should actually know is your specific number. You don't need a generalized number. You need a very specific number. That's where the Know Your Number course comes in. But if you want to know how you stand up next to your peers, where Americans are in general in this category, on median, the 50-year-olds have a net worth at age 50 of about $246,000, of which only about $55,000 are liquid financial assets. By the time you get to the end of the decade, age 59, only the 59-year-olds have a median net worth of about $352,000, financial assets of only about $66,000. Unfortunately, I think for the majority of folks, $66,000 of financial liquid assets probably will not create the lifestyle that they want to live in their next decade, in the 60s.
This is why Social Security is not going anywhere. I mean, I think a large portion of our population gets to retirement and goes, oh, so this is what happens. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, that is not what I want for all my financial mutants watching this. I mean, the biggest takeaway when I saw the Federal Reserve's updated data is, man, we have relied upon home ownership to boost net worth, but the actual usable assets without having to liquidate the house we live in is way below where it should be. This is not good decision making. This is not living your best financial life. And I would just encourage you, start doing the work now. You know, I am an optimist, so I don't like to see this negative stuff and say, well, it's over. You can never catch up. There's always an opportunity. You can still, even somebody who starts at age 50, you know, you have levers of opportunity that you can pull that will catch up. You're probably not going to be able to be part of the FIRE movement and retire early, but you can still start building assets that can work harder for you than you can with just putting in your time and creating wages and other things. But the biggest thing is, we live in a society that is, I feel like in a lot of ways, structured to make you maximize consumption. Mm-hmm. If you haven't caught on, and this is for whether you're young, old, that the way you win this game that's been set up to try to make you fall into every consumption trap out there is to do the behaviors that work against that. You've got to start owning assets that can replace your work and actually let you live your best life to do what you want, when you want, how you want. Because I can tell you, the moment you focus on financial freedom and you focus on today, I don't care what age you are, I'm going to make a motion to start saving and investing $100, $200, $500. Maybe you're in your 50s and you're now panicking. You might need to be saving $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. Do whatever you have to do. Use the tools, use the resources we've put out there so that you're just not letting life happen to you. Be the hero of your redemption story so that you can look back and choose this is the moment that you changed your financial journey.